Good afternoon. I'm Julie Brim Edwards with Nike, and I'm a member of the Oregon Education Investment Board, and I was asked today to introduce our Chief Education Officer, Nancy Golden, who's going to introduce our panel. And we've got a great panel lined up today representing all different levels of the education spectrum, which I think they'll give us a nice overview and really be a good catalyst for some great discussions in the breakout rooms. So 3 years ago, Oregon embarked on a redesign of our entire public education system to better prepare our kids for the future. And the Oregon Business Plan and the business community has really had an important role in supporting this work. And not only have we built support for an aligned and integrated system, but we've also, one of the things that the business community has done is really had a strong partnership with educators across the state, which I think we're seeing the fruit of that work now. So to lead this new system, the position of a Chief Education Officer was created. This chief oversees the entire system of public education from early learning all the way through K-12, career preparation, and college. And the Oregon Education Investment Board really wanted to hire a Chief Education Officer with a demonstrated track record in the following areas: leadership with results, change agents, systems experience, and education expertise across all levels. Now, I've got to say, when we embarked on this work, and Dr. Ray was part of the effort as well to find the right leader, what we found is there really isn't another position like this in the entire country. So Oregon's really out front innovating in this space of creating an aligned and integrated system from pre-K all the way through the university level. So since there's no real other position like this in the country, it was a challenge to find the right person to lead this effort. So we were really lucky when we kicked off this initiative to recruit a new leader that we were able to find somebody who knows Oregon, met the criteria, and was really a good fit to lead this ambitious effort, and that person was Nancy Golden. Nancy's got about 30 plus years of experience in education. She's been a teacher, a superintendent of a K-12 system. She's served as the governor's education advisor. She's directed the University of Oregon's administrative licensure program. Ed and I won't hold that against you. That was at the other school. So Nancy's a leader who really gets things done. She brings a unique set of experiences. She's a builder, problem solver, has a relentless focus on students. She's an effective implementer. She's direct and frank, which as a business person I appreciate, but she also has a record of respecting and engaging fellow educators in the community. And since she took the position in September, she's been off and running at a very fast pace, and being from Nike, we like fast pace setters. So this is really a great point in time, a couple of months into Nancy's tenure, to get a snapshot of the strategic work they're doing, and also to hear from other leaders in the field of education here in the state to find out where we're heading, how the business community can support the work underway, and also to tee up the discussions for later on this afternoon. So with that, I want to welcome Nancy Golden, the state's Chief Education Officer, and our panelists, and thank you for participating today.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much. I just want to begin by saying how honored I am to be your Chief Education Officer, and how pleased I am to be able to lead and serve on behalf of all the students, young and old, that we have in Oregon. So being a teacher, once a teacher, always a teacher. If you take out this little pamphlet, I'm going to be walking you through this as I talk about what we refer to as our birth to career and college system. So if you open up to the very first part, which says what's at stake in the road ahead, of course the road ahead is the 40-40-20 goal. You've heard that referred to a lot today. That's 40% of our students having four-year degrees, 40% of our students having two-year degrees, all of our students graduating from college, and the other 20% ready to go into a career. On top, and we put this first, is what's at stake. And really what's at stake is that we have 35% of our students who are English language learners from communities of college or immigrants, and because they haven't gotten the supports they need, they find themselves behind the other students, And we need to make sure that we get these students out of the opportunity gap. The OEIB passed an equity lens, and we're always looking through that lens and saying, how do we help all students accelerate and make sure we get our students in the opportunity gap out of the gap? So if you open to this long pathway, what I'd like to spend my 8 minutes on is the pathway. And the first thing is, people say, what does the Oregon Education Investment Board do? And the Oregon Education Investment Board does 4 things, and I want to talk about those. The first one is it develops a seamless system of education from birth to college and career. And the way we do that is we're focused on some key targets that we know if we meet that really launches us successfully all along the pathway. So that is that students come to kindergarten ready to learn, that 3rd grade, all students are reading at or above grade level, and right now we have about 70% of our students doing that. In 9th grade, they're on track for college, for graduation from high school, which means they have 6 high school credits, that we have more students graduating from high school, in fact, all of them, and more college completers. And right now, we have about 68% of our students graduating from high school. In terms of community college, that middle 40, we have about 19% of our students who, out of the 40%, and then when we look at the other 40, our 4-year colleges, we have 30% of the 40%. So we still have some ways to go. And so the second thing we do is we know one of the ways to successfully move through the pathway is to really look at the transitions. So what is the transition from birth to grade 3? How do we make sure our students come to kindergarten ready to learn? And one of the greatest things about the early learning reform is their outcome that they look for is all students reading at 3rd grade. So we really make sure that's a seamless system. So we get all our students to reading in 3rd grade. Because what we know is if students are reading by 3rd grade, they have 3 times as much of a chance of going to college. The other part on the pathway, the other transition we spend a lot of time on is what we refer to from 11th grade to post-secondary. And we know that those are critical transitions there. This morning I heard a lot about STEM, and let's just talk about STEM. We know if we want our students to go into STEM careers, then we want to make sure that we're starting in high school, giving them the kind of courses that are going to help them move into post-secondary in the area of STEM. Now remember, I said my second job is to manage and enhance the transitions and the breakdown barriers. So right now, one of the barriers, an example would be, we have a lot of students who take credits in high school, and some students think they're already leaving high school with a year of college credit, but alas, those college credits that they get in high school are aligned with the programs they need in the community college or in the 4-year university. They find they go to those places and they say, well, you've got some credit, but it's not going to count towards the program you want. So that's a barrier we need to overcome. So we're going to develop the pathway, we're going to manage transition and overcome barriers. And the third thing we're going to do is make key investments that we know will launch our students along the pathway. One of the key investments you've heard a lot about today, it's in early learning, because if we know if they come to kindergarten ready to learn, we'll have them reading by 3rd grade. We've also made investments in quality teaching because we know that every student deserves a quality teacher, and a quality teacher makes a substantial difference in how students achieve. Another investment that I think is really important to the conversation today is the investment that we've made in STEM. So we have a STEM council, which has 9 members, and these represent people from all around Oregon who have experiences in the STEM industries, and they're going to really help us guide what we do. But we did make an initial investment. We made a $2.5 million investment in 3 to 5 hubs, STEM hubs. We gave another $2.5 million to STEM and CTE, that's career technical education, and $3 million to some STEM labs. So that's just an example of one of the investments we've made, because we know it's really critical for our students, that they will come out and be ready to go into the businesses that you all have. And you were saying you're having trouble finding students from Oregon who can fill those jobs. We want you having 2 great graduates from Oregon. We want you up all night not being able to decide between 2 great graduates who graduated from our system. So we're going to work really hard to do that. So the third thing we do is we make investments. And the fourth thing we do is we budget to outcomes. And by budgeting to outcomes, what we're talking about there, in early learning, what we're talking about is once we can determine which are the early learning programs that really bring kids to school ready to learn, then we want to invest in those programs. In higher ed, in post-secondary, we're thinking of budgeting to the outcomes we want. So right now we budget based on enrollment, but if we budgeted instead on how many AA degrees do you get, how many transfer degrees, how many BAs, how many masters, how many PhDs, then we're actually budgeting to the outcome that we want. So that's the fourth part of the pathway. I want to talk about 2 other key investments that you'll see really manage the transitions. In early learning, we've invested in hubs. Those are really important because they're integrated. We're bringing the health and social services together. And we've also invested in what we're calling regional collaboratives. Regional collaboratives are when people come together from birth until college and career, and they work together to help move students along the pathway. And we've got 12 collaborative hubs beginning, and we're really anxious to see what they do. The other thing that we really know is that it's really critical that we make sure we offer huge opportunities to our students. Later, you're going to see a video by OBC that talks about how do you individualize for students. But what we know is that some students learn better in classrooms, some learn better in internships, some learn better online, some learn better in a combination of online and brick and mortar schools, some learn better in choice schools like a STEM school or an Academy of Arts and Academics. And we have to have those choices because we've been asking students to change for schools, and we need schools to change for students. So that's a fast overview of the birth to college and career system. And now I'm going to introduce our panel, and I want you to know at the end of the panel, we'll be going right into the video that is produced by OBC, Oregon Business Council, around individualizing education. So I'm just thrilled to introduce my 3 colleagues, and we're going to move up the pathway and start with K-12. And this is Jeff Rose. He is the superintendent of Beaverton Public Schools. And next, we have Connie Green, who is the president of Tillamook Community College. And last, we have President Ed Ray, who is the president of OSU. And so we'll start with Jeff.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about what I believe K-12's role is in relation to this seamless system that Nancy described. You know, she mentioned the word system. Another really important word for us is culture. Because one culture barrier that we're struggling with, just in general, I'll even use my district as an example, with over 50 schools, trying to create a focus that allows creativity and doesn't necessarily focus on just fidelity, but is still as a system. And several things that we're doing as a school district to get to that point, and yet it's very clear that this is not just about the Beaverton School District. This is not just about our schools. It's about how we step away and consider this system relative to the entire state and all of our schools. So for example, the Beaverton School District, over time, I'm very fortunate, has created a philosophy describing that this is not a district of schools, but a school district, and we need to have very clear targets for our students. We have defined very specifically what the goal is for students. And so that's very easy to do as you relate to or list content, but learning is much more than just content. So we have described our goal for students aligned to the 21st century skills by, we want students to be able to think critically and creatively. We want them to be able to, of course, know and master the content. self-direct and collaborate. We want them to be able to know how to act. And then when they leave us, we want them to be able to navigate locally as well as globally. And how we track those skills within a K-12 system in thousands of classrooms tends to be the trick, tends to be the challenge. I will say in our school district, several things we have done is be very specific relative to what the academic as well as learning targets are in all of our classrooms. If you were to walk in just about any classroom in our school district, you'll know exactly what the teacher is focusing on. It's plain as day, it is clear. And then, of course, we have made sure that we're creating consistency classroom to classroom throughout all of our schools. So, for example, science in high school. In the past, we've always had a series of science classes you could sign up for, and then we know what the graduation requirements are as well as higher ed, and yet there are multiple pathways to get there. So over the past several years, we've created a very specific physics-first model that creates an opportunity for all of our students to have the same experience necessary so that when they leave us, they have choices relative to their next step in education. We've been very specific relative to creating a team process for all of our educators. None of our educators work alone. They all work in teams, and they're constantly comparing and contrasting their strategies for instruction and pedagogy, how they assess students, what targets they're focusing on, and then the success or lack thereof of their students. Nancy mentioned STEAM. So, for example, we have STEAM schools, but we've been very specific to start in elementary. So we have several STEAM schools where it's an elementary pilot school that moves to a middle school, so we're not starting the STEAM or STEM process in high school. In our opinion, that's too late. We've done the same thing with our IB programs, International Baccalaureate programs. We're not waiting for high school. How do we begin those systems and structures in elementary school so once again our K-12 is seamless? So we could, of course, list multiple examples of what we're doing in our school district. However, to be quite honest, while I'm pleased, I'm far from satisfied relative to where we need to be. We still have this dramatic challenge of when kids leave us. Our dilemma, in my opinion, is when they leave us in 12th grade, it should not feel like the diving board concept where we just cross our fingers and hope they'll be able to swim. We need to figure out a system some way, somehow, so our seniors, for example, have one foot in our high schools and another already transitioning into higher ed, which, by the way, just does not mean just four-year universities. We want all of our students to have the skills to transition to four-year universities, but we actually believe in choice. So we want them to own that choice. And currently, we haven't created that consistent bridge. We have examples, but yet we still have this opportunity gap in our district and throughout the state, namely focused on students of poverty, race, and language. And so when Nancy talks about system, this is beyond just K-12, but obviously we have a critical role in this. And I'm just very fortunate to know, and of course to be humble enough to be specific, we can't do this work alone. K-12 cannot own this work. I would love to say that we could. I'd love to feel proud enough and really believe in our educators enough to say we got this, but we don't. And I think over time, the concept of when kids come to us, they need to be prepared. Kindergarten is very different, by the way, now compared to when we went. Very different. Number one, the challenges and the skills and expectations are much higher than when we went. And also the disparity and diversity of our students is very different. Some students are reading, and some students have never held a pencil. And yet we need to own this challenge because these students will one day leave us in 12th grade. So I appreciate
Let's move up
this.
the
Thank you.
pathway. You're welcome. To community college.
Well, it is fun to be the community college in the middle. And that's what community colleges do in the communities. I'm going to talk for Tillamook Bay, but it's true for all of our 17 community colleges. Because as you partner with a high school, you try to bring students forward in a dual credit program, a College Now program. You also have students who come back in your community that are no longer 18, they're 22 and 24, and you do adult skill development to help them get up to speed. We also hand people off at Tillamook Bay Community College. About 50% of our students leave after the first year, and they go on to a university. They don't officially transfer with a degree. They've got the confidence, they now know what they want, and they're able to go on. Oregon State happens to be one of our key partners. We have a program called Open Campus, and I happen to be the smallest of the 17 community colleges. I'm not sure how I got invited, but it is a delight, because what we do at the smallest one is what the largest one, PCC, also does. We partner, partner, partner. I partner with Oregon State immensely. I partner with my high school with a Career College Ready program. That's one of the regional collaborations. Our goal by 2015 is to have every student that graduates have one college or career course. Sounds really simple, but if you're in Tillamook, only about 60% of your students go on. Our goal is to get them all to see that they can do the work. So we started with one really simple goal that every parent could accept and see. Our hope is to have a whole pathway. And to have pathways, I have a great pathway. Earlier today you heard about Collins Lumber. Well, I have both Stimson and Hampton in our communities. Stimson does everything locally. Their largest provider of wood is to Lowe's. Hampton does things internationally. They could not get enough local people to deal in their mills with the PCCs, the controllers that you were hearing about. You have to like the living on the coast. So they'd recruit people for thousands of dollars and they would leave. So Stimson, Hampton, and the Creamery, the bus is still here, they came to the college and we worked together to create an industrial maintenance technician program. They pay half of it. It's a small program. It doesn't have 40 and 50. It has about 10 students. It comes from their industries, and their journeymen help teach it, and it's open to our high school students now as well, as a way to develop the capacity in the community and the workforce. And oh, by the way, we're creating a pathway now into the high school so we can take a broader engineering view, connect it with this IMT view, and it's a great way to get started. But it's about the partnerships, and it has to be about the workforce. So we're in a very small community. We don't have as many choices. There's not IBs. It's really hard to have some of the choices or STEM colleges. You have to remember, Tillamook is a fairly small community of 26,000 people. Tillamook High School graduates about 160 students a year. So it's really, how do you, in a small area with limited choice, create choice and partnership? We're creating a new Ag Natural Resource program that is an amazing program. I call it a sampler. It lets people in our region that believes in ag natural resources, all the courses are Oregon State courses. It lets them take so many in fish and wildlife, so many in forestry, so many in food science, so many in ag, and together, any one of those programs, because of Oregon State, they could continue online, not leave their home, and get a degree from Oregon State, a bachelor's degree. They can get an associate's degree from us. It fits right into one of the degrees at Oregon State. The more we create the seamlessness of, we have to work together. And so my belief is Tillamook is a great example of a small community that's working together both with industry, with the high schools, with the college, and the universities to make it happen. And I think that's what OIB is looking around the state. Whether you're small or large, how do we get rid of the barriers? How do we create the pathways? And how do we create the partnerships that invest in a long-term workforce and opportunity?
Okay, so we're moving up to our four-year universities.
Let me just say right up front, I think the initiative in this state to enhance the effectiveness of the education continuum from pre-K to 20 is exactly right on. And in Nancy Golden, Ben Cannon, Tim Nesbitt, and others, we have a group of leaders who are smart, committed, incredibly capable, who are very, very laser focused on student success, and that's what we need if we're going to succeed in this state. Connie already talked a little bit about some of the collaborations in higher education, specifically the degree partnership program, and I want to say a little bit about that just in terms of the magnitude of the program. Oregon State University has a degree partnership program with each of the 17 community colleges in the state. This is a program that we initiated at the turn of the century in partnership with Lynn Benton Community College. When I came along, that partnership had already started, and I was smart enough to see a good thing when I knew it, so we've expanded the program across the state. To date, we have had 26,880 students come to Oregon State University through this seamless partnership program where students are simultaneously enrolled in the community college and the university and finish their four-year programs with the university. This autumn, we have 6,600 degree partnership program students who are taking courses at OSU. Connie mentioned the online program. We have a program, we call it eCampus. Last spring, it was rated the 4th best online education program among research universities in the United States. And it's nothing small. Thank you. It's a program that offers 900 courses in 80 subjects. We have 16 online undergraduate major degrees, and we have 18 minor degrees. We currently have 3,800 students working exclusively online for their degrees this year. I also want to mention what we're doing with respect to enrollment, because that's part of education success, growing enrollment across the board. We now have almost 27,000 students connected to the Corvallis campus in residence and online. This year we've had an increase of almost 1,600 students at OSU. In the last 5 years, our enrollment has grown more than 40%. Our Cascades campus now stands at about 1,100 students at Cascades and Bend and COCC. They've had enrollment growth of over 100% in the last 10 years. Our goal is for OSU Cascades to grow to 5,000 students by 2025. And you heard the governor mention we're also talking about creating a marine studies campus on the coast centered on Newport, which we hope will reach an enrollment of up to 500 students by 2025. I want to go back a little bit and say something about, Nancy had mentioned the regional achievement collaborations. We're one of the 12 partners in that. We have what we call the Mid-Valley Mid-Coast Partnership. This is a collaboration that now is in its 10th year. We include 7 school districts and the local ESD, Lynn Benton Community College and Oregon State University. Our reach, or our region, includes 35,000 elementary and secondary school students, 6,000 Lynn Benton Community College students, and as I said, close to 28,000 students at OSU Corvallis and online. And we're working on creating new pathways from high school to community college to universities. We've got partnerships to move students from high school and community colleges in 5 years by consolidating efforts there. And then we've initiated what we call the Early College Program. This is a program we have 2 examples of with Lincoln High School, Portland Community College, and Oregon State University. Another is Lebanon High School, Lynn Benton Community College, and Oregon State University. Students are connected through all 3 levels of education, and they are guaranteed that if they hit all their marks, when they come to us, they will get $3,000 scholarships for each of their first 3 years at the university to hopefully help them be successful. We're very excited about that program. We also have taken on a number of initiatives, but our primary focus is on math education, preparing math educators and professional development for current math teachers. We're trying to provide a program that helps the state step up to meet the Common Core state standards for math that will be rolling in the next year or so, and we'll move on to science education beyond that. But we're very excited about the state helping us with that initiative through the Regional Achievement Compact. I was also asked to say something about education to career, and we're certainly interested in jobs here. Let me give you a couple of fast facts. For one, we did a study and found out that at mid-career, 71% of our graduates are working in jobs that are directly related to the degree that they got. And at mid-career, their earnings are 50% above the average in their fields, making us number 2 in the Northwest, just slightly behind the University of Washington. So we're working to create career opportunities and experiences for students. The best known program is probably the MECOP program, Multiple Engineering Cooperative Program. It's a partnership with Oregon Industry. It was started at OSU, but it includes other universities. And what we do is we have students do 2 6-month internships anywhere in Oregon with 2 of our more than 120 industry partners. They work in the summer and fall of their junior and senior years in those internship programs, and one statistic I heard was that 85% of the students in that program find their job, their first job, through the MECOP program. If I could do a little campaigning, political electioneering or whatever here, let me just say that going forward, it's great we're doing all these things, but the reality is we need the state to step up in a way that it hasn't before. We're 45th in the nation in state spending per student FTE. We're 38th in the nation in student scholarship or financial support per FTE, and I know that Treasurer Wheeler has a proposal for helping us down the line do better on the financial aid side. I'm not a big believer, in fact, I don't believe in whining as a management tool, but I am proud to whine on behalf of others, and my complaint would be that the regional and technical universities in this state need secure base funding. If you take our 1,600 expansion and enrollment out of the OSU figures this year, the net growth in the rest of the system is 14 students. 40-40-20 is not possible if we don't get the funding right.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to end.